Our story begins with the heroes fighting against the dragon. The hero called Joser the dragon to warn it, and declared that he would end the attack on the Howard Empire that day. However, Joser dismissed them as insects, proclaiming that they never tire of crawling out. He shouted, declaring that half an empire was too low compensation for his dead child, and vowed to tear them limb from limb, crushing the other half of the empire. This scene unfolds in a webtoon titled Chronicles of a Dragon, specifically in episode 7, which our protagonist was reading. Our protagonist, engrossed in the webtoon, is skinny and in the hospital. Anatrophic lateral sclerosis, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, causes the motor nerve cells to gradually die, leading to muscle paralysis throughout the body and eventually death. Diagnosed with it at the age of 25, it was a death sentence at a young age with no family. The money he had been saving and a young body that still had so much to offer all destroyed by a single disease. 4 years after being diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, at 29 years old, all he had left was a skinny body and this amateur webtoon that he was reading. It was literally all he had left. That's how our protagonist left this world. His only regret is that he won't be able to see the end of this webtoon. This is how he died. However, suddenly a bright light appears in front of our protagonist. When he opens his eyes, he sees an unknown man in front of him. Confused, he starts shouting loudly, asking what is going on. He became a dragon. At first, he thought he was going to faint. He went through reality denial, trying to figure out what was going on. But once he accepted the reality, he realized that he got reincarnated as a dragon. In all novels and webtoons he had read, there was never a weak dragon. He couldn't complain about being reincarnated as the strongest being in the world. Most importantly, in this world, cats have a lifespan of 10 years, humans have 80 years, dwarves have 250 years, elves have 1,000 years, and fairies have 3,000 years. However, the average lifespan of a dragon is 10,000 years. In our protagonist's previous life, he had to work from a young age, then got sick and died in his prime years. But for him, this life is different. Being reincarnated as a dragon with a long and healthy life is the ultimate gift. He is really happy that finally, he can live a long and happy life. However, he realizes that he can't get excited now because he has to overcome many obstacles in his way. Nevertheless, he is really thankful that he's reborn as a dragon. Suddenly, a man grabs him and asks, "My Lois, why are you so excited?" It's Lois's father Joser, who is also a dragon. He asks Lois to come and eat. Although Lois looks really cute, he gets shocked after seeing the food he's going to eat. Joser asks Lois what's wrong, and if he isn't hungry. He insists it's best when it's fresh and encourages Lois to eat. However, Lois doesn't look well, as he'll never get used to this dragon diet. But following dragon laws, he tries a bit and surprisingly finds it tasting like strawberry. Joser asks if he likes it, saying there's more for him to eat. Lois, looking at Joser with expressive eyes, tells him that he doesn't want any more, calling him father. Joser is really surprised and asks Lois what's wrong, urging him to call him dad. However, Lois doesn't listen, still adjusting to being a dragon. He suddenly realizes that he doesn't even know his dad's name yet and asks Joser about it. Joser is shocked, wondering if Lois is just now wondering about that. After a month, Lois finally asks Joser, and he replies that his father's name is Joser. Lois is shocked after hearing this, remembering that Joser was the one who was going to destroy the Howard Empire. Fear starts to creep in. Joser asks Lois what happened to him, and in panic, Lois opens the door and starts running, exclaiming that this can't be true. Running into a library, Lois grabs a book and starts flipping through it, stopping on a page that horrifies him: the Howard Empire. It's the name of an empire in an amateur webtoon he used to read before he died. Lois understands everything. He wasn't reincarnated as a dragon, but was possessed by that webtoon. Joser calls out to him, worried if he's hurt anywhere. Lois can't believe that such a gentle and caring father is going to become a genocider. Suddenly, Lois remembers that Joser went insane after its hatchling was killed by a human. So he asks Joser if he has an older brother. Joser replies that he doesn't have any older brothers. He is the oldest. After hearing this, Lois is really surprised and asks his dad if he has plans to have other kids. Joser says no, explaining that he already promised Lois's mom that they would have only one child and raise it well. Realizing that there were none before and there won't be any after him, Lois is confused and doesn't know what to do. In the webtoon, Joser loses his kid and goes insane on the Empire. Lois realizes that he is just a trigger for the story to begin the child of a villainous dragon who will vaporize and disappear before the story even begins. He has become a dragon, one scheduled to die. Moved by the letter, he entered his room, where he found a collection of jewels, gold, and other valuable items. Wondering if, like in his previous life, he is still terminally ill and won't even get to spend all this money, he becomes angry, shouting that he can't die like this. Determined, he goes to his room, grabs a book from his bookshelf, and starts writing, thinking about the year when Joser went berserker mode. Reflecting on Joser losing his child, he tries to figure out the year he went berserk to find out when he is scheduled to die. After remembering the year is 3589 AC, he instantly writes down that since it's now 3D90 AC, he'll be between the ages of 498 and 499 when he dies. He realizes that 1 year before he achieves adulthood, he is scheduled to die as a child. Despite this revelation, he smiles, determined to survive the next 499 years and kick life's ass. Later, Lois goes to the dining hall, surprising Joser by eating a lot. In a good mood after discovering the date of his impending death, Lois asks Joser for another bowl. Joser, happy to see his son in a good mood, gives him a full bowl of blue slime, encouraging him to eat as much as he wants. While Lois is eating peacefully, a worm approaches him and falls into his food. Unaware of the worm, Lois almost eats it, but Joser intervenes in time. Lois, angry at Joser for interfering, questions why he did it. Joser, picking up the insect from the floor, explains that it's an artificial creature his father is researching and is not dangerous for adult dragons like him. However, since Lois is still young, it may be dangerous. Lois gets shocked after hearing this revelation, realizing the potential danger of the poisonous insect. Joser tries to comfort him, assuring him that since he didn't eat it, it must be okay. Lois takes a sigh of relief, thinking he needs to start paying more attention if he doesn't want to die. Later, while reading a book, warrior armor attacks Lois. He shouts loudly, but Joser intervenes, using his dragon power to destroy the armor and save Lois. Joser is confused because he had set it up so that it wouldn't harm Lois. A few days later, there were no more suspicions. Instead, Lois was convinced. He is happy to see the outside world for the first time, and is surprised by the beauty it holds. Joser explains that the mountains Lois sees are the left fang of the earth, one of the two gigantic mountains at the end of the continent, renowned for being home to many mysterious races. Lois is surprised, wondering if it's bigger than Mount Everest, finding it different from what he saw in books. He plays happily with a butterfly, but suddenly the weather turns bad, with black clouds gathering in the sky. In the next moment, lightning strikes Lois, turning him into a dragon kebab. Confused, Lois doesn't know what just happened. Joser, witnessing this, runs toward Lois. However, before reaching him, another lightning strike hits Lois. Everyone prepares their plates as if expecting a dragon barbecue. Lois realizes that the webtoon script wants him to die, especially after 3 continuous lightning strikes. Fainting after the last strike, Joser starts crying and carries Lois to his room. Scared, Lois almost died, but is surprised to see 3 lightning strikes in the same spot. Wondering about the chances of such an event, he figures out that the script wants him dead, despite his supposed death being 498 years away at the hands of humans. Lois suddenly wonders if the script is acting against him because he determined not to die, as the original story only begins when he dies. Curious, He wonders how the Webtoon's baby dragon survived 500 years, finding the situation complicated. He decides he doesn't have time for this and needs something to save him from this death mark. Rushing toward Joser, Lois surprises him and asks if they have any equipment at home that can protect him. Joser replies that they do have such equipment, but insists it's too early for Lois to use them. To utilize them, Lois needs something called attribute power and a lot of training, which he can learn when he's older in a few hundred years. However, Lois decides he wants to learn now and asks Joser to teach him. However, Joser tries to avoid him, saying he is still too young. But Lois doesn't care. He wants to learn. He makes a cute face and asks Joser, "Can't I learn 'cause I'm little?" Joser, still nervous, says usually, one learns after passing the stage of infancy. After seeing Lois's cute face, he agrees to teach him. Lois is very happy and wants Joser to teach him right away. But before Joser teaches him, there's a place they need to visit first. Lois is confused and asks Joser where they are going. Joser explains that for the child of the dragon race to discover his own attributes for the first time, he must seek the elders. Lois is really confused and doesn't know what Joser is talking about. However, Lois is happy to discover his own attributes, so he comes to Joser and asks how they get to the elder's place. Suddenly, a purple fog starts surrounding Joser. He says to Lois that to get there, they must fly. Lois is really surprised after seeing him. However, Lois realizes that this is Joser's dragon transformation. A moment later, Joser fully transforms into his dragon form. Lois is really surprised after seeing a real dragon for the first time. Joser puts his hand forward and asks Lois to climb up. Lois climbs onto Joser's hand. Joser asks Lois to hold on tight as they are going to fly really fast. Lois is really surprised after seeing how high they are going. He asks Joser how high they are going, and Joser starts laughing, saying they're still a long way off. The flight becomes more intense as they reach into the atmosphere. Lois is shocked, wondering if they are going to soar through the atmosphere and into space. Suddenly, he hears Joser saying, "Lois, we're almost there. This is the beautiful floating castle in the middle of space." Lois is really shocked after seeing this. Joser asks Lois if he's surprised, explaining that it's the sacred land of the dragons called Silver Flower Castle. Lois, upon closer inspection, finds out that it's really big. Joser transforms back into his human form and asks Lois to go in. They enter a room where 13 elders are present. Sandra, the leader of the 13 dragon elders, welcomes both of them. Joser greets the elders and introduces himself as the son of Pamis. Bartis, one of the 13 elders, is really surprised after seeing Joser, commenting on Lois's smart and gentle appearance as the grandson of Pamis. Joser is happy after meeting his father for such a long time. Pamis, one of the 13 elders and also Joser's father and Lois's grandfather, tells Joser that it's been 623 years. The last time he came was to introduce his wife Valentina. However, Pamis is really angry with Joser because he should have shown his grandson as soon as he was born. Joser explains that Lois was born just a month ago. He wants to force him to come here. However, Pamis is really happy after seeing his grandson. Lois makes a cute face and says, "Grandpa?" Pamis gets really happy after seeing Lois's cutest side, wondering what a fine-looking child for a grandson he is. Another elder is really surprised after seeing Pamis this side, saying he absolutely adores his first grandchild. He's been longing for a grandchild for so long. Let him enjoy the moment. Sandra, the leader of the 13 dragon elders, asks Joser if he wants to know Lois's attributes. However, he is really surprised and asks Joser if it isn't a bit too early. Joser also thought the same, but Lois expressed his wish to learn. Pamis is really surprised after seeing his grandson passionate about learning, just like his grandfather. After seeing Pamis like this, Sandra asks him to stop, as he is disturbing everyone. She also asks Lois to step into the center. However, Lois is really worried and asks his father what to do. Joser says to Lois that he doesn't have to worry. It's nothing serious. All he needs to do is just stay still. Lois goes and stands in the middle of all the elders. However, he is really nervous and doesn't know what is going to happen. Sandra, the leader of the 13 dragon elders, asks everyone to let's begin. So everyone starts gathering their own attribute power into their hands. Lois is really surprised after seeing this, thinking it's amazing. Sandra asks Lois to close his eyes and chant, "My lifelong companion." When Lois chants, "My lifelong companion," all the attributes start appearing in front of him. His body starts glowing. Suddenly, Sandra's attributes start shaking. Joser gets really surprised after finding out that his son has the abstract attribute of time. Abstract attributes are usually stronger than natural attributes. He is really happy after seeing this, thinking his son is a genius. However, suddenly Pamas's attribute also starts shaking. Lois also has a strength attribute. Furthermore, he has dual attributes. Wondering a dual attribute born among our kind. It's been quite a while. However, Lois didn't stop there. He also has a space attribute. But Sandra is in great shock after seeing this. Lois also has a space attribute as well. Lois is a 3 attribute holder. In the history, there are only 2 dragons who have 3 attributes. The first dragon king, Titus, and the worst dragon ever swallowed by the evil Rotvryer. In the long history of the dragon tribe, there were only 2 triple attributes. And now Lois. This child is destined to write a new history. However, everyone gets more surprised after finding out that Lois also has a mental attribute. He is not just a 3 attribute holder, he is a 4 attribute holder. But Lois doesn't care. He is really happy after knowing his attributes. However, all the elders are in great shock after seeing this. Lois is really scared after seeing them and asks why they're looking at him like that. Joser is really shocked after seeing this. He doesn't know what to say. Lois, after coming back to his home, is thinking about his 4 abstract attributes: time, space, strength, and mental. These talents are so vast that even dragons are left speechless. He wonders if this level of ability could handle all the events that will happen in this story alone. Perhaps the flow of the story has been altered because of this. They might be frustrated because they can't kill Lois. However, he is really frustrated, thinking, what's the use of having the greatest talent if there's a chance he might die before he even matures? Suddenly, he gets into high spirits, thinking that there is still hope. While this talent has brought about crises, it's also an opportunity. If he hones this talent well, his chances of survival will greatly increase. Most importantly, he is not the Lois from the original story. He has memories of his previous life, so he is aware of the impending crisis. He will utilize these to the best of his ability and ensure his survival. So he picks up 2 books from his bookshelf: The Principles of Magic Skills and The Fundamentals of Martial Arts. Magic skills manipulate attributes, and martial arts handle attributes and the body simultaneously. However, he is really confused, thinking, which one should he master first for the sake of survival? But he gets a great idea. He wants to learn both of them at the same time. Because he is a dragon, blessed with abundant mana, and born with 4 attributes. With just a bit more effort, he can learn both of them simultaneously. He is now in high spirits. He wants to learn them right now. However, before he starts, Joser comes to Lois's room and asks him if he's waited long enough. He has brought his food, asking Lois to eat first. Lois, after seeing the food, saliva starts dripping from his mouth. He says, as the saying goes, even a journey to Kumgang Mountain starts with a meal. Perhaps I should snack first. The food is filled with rare treasures. Water attribute potion like blue ice crystal lamis, wood attribute potion, kind of chewy, stem of hydrogen, wind attribute potion, sky jellyfish, as fluffy as cotton candy, and thunder attribute potion, heart of thunderbird, giving a fizzy sensation. Although these potions contain energy that could cause ordinary beings to explode if consumed carelessly. Since dragons have a permanent organ called the dragon heart, They can convert the mana from nature into their own attributes, making such a feast possible. Lois, without any second thought, starts eating, thinking he must eat a lot to grow rapidly. However, Joser starts laughing after seeing Lois falling asleep in the middle of eating, wondering if he must be very tired. So he took Lois to his room and laid him on the bed. Lois, sleeping without any worries, is unaware of the upcoming danger. Suddenly, a purple light appears in front of Lois and changes into a fork and spoon, placing them in front of Lois's bed. In the next morning, Lois is really confused and wondering when did he fall asleep, thinking that he was eating a snack with his father. However, when he thinks about this, Joser asks him to get up and come into the dining hall to eat. When he tries to go there, suddenly he slips from his bed and falls on the ground. However, he gets really shocked after seeing a fork and spoon in front of him, realizing he almost died from a fork stuck in the floor. Wondering of all things, such a nonsensical death flag. However, he is really confused and thinking, where did the coherence go? But suddenly, he notices that there is something tied to his tail. It's his favorite soft doll, and he is in great shock after seeing its condition. It was the only one he could vent to, so he goes to the dining hall to ask his father to fix it. Joser starts fixing Lois's doll, saying, "My Lois must have been sad when Toto broke." He asks Lois not to worry, his papa will fix it up nicely. However, Lois suddenly falls asleep and wakes up the next morning, really confused, not knowing what just happened and wondering when did he end up here. He is really confused and doesn't know what's going on with him. Suddenly, he notices his doll has also been fixed. So, Lois asks Joser if something seems off with him recently. Joser, being a caring father, asks Lois if he's hurt somewhere. However, Lois himself is confused and unsure if it's pain or not, but his memory is spotty, and he keeps feeling sleepy. Joser takes a sigh of relief and tells Lois that it's time to tell him. It's not pain, it's just his sleeping phases approaching. Dragons have 2 sleeping phases for growth, and Lois is feeling sleepy often because his first sleeping phase is nearing. Lois is really surprised after hearing this and asks Joser how long he will sleep. Joser replies that there's no exact time, but roughly 100 years. Lois is shocked after hearing this, considering he had this absurd death flag just a few days ago, and now he has to sleep for 100 years, thinking it's literally asking for him to be killed. Lois is very scared and starts running toward his room. After coming back to his room, Lois creates a plan to stay awake as much as possible. He gets a book and starts writing. Firstly, avoid eating because a full belly makes one sleepy. Secondly, skip showers as they tend to relax you. Thirdly, minimize movement as it leads to exhaustion. Lastly, don't go near the bed because just seeing a bed makes you want to lie down. He finishes creating his plan to stay awake as much as possible. A few days later, Lois, after following his plan to stay awake, feels very weak. Joser is also worried about Lois as he's not eating much lately. He asks Lois to eat, emphasizing that he needs nourishment and wants him to eat just 1 spoonful. Lois does not want to eat anymore, so he runs toward his room, relieved that he nearly ended up eating. Lois takes a sigh of relief, thinking it was a close call. He can't afford to let his guard down until he finds a way to resist sleep. However, he starts falling asleep while reading the book. Suddenly, he pinches himself, saying he cannot fall asleep. He has to stay awake. He tries his best, but can't do that and finally falls asleep. Suddenly, he starts hearing some voices and wakes up suddenly. It's Joser's voice asking Lois if he slept well. Lois says that he didn't sleep. He just dozed off for a bit. However, Joser congratulates him, and Lois is really confused, wondering what's the celebration for. Joser replies that they're celebrating Lois's 100th birthday, and Lois gets really shocked after hearing this. 100 years later, Joser is calling Lois so he can eat some snacks before going into his sleeping phase. However, Joser notices that Lois has already fallen into his sleeping phase. Joser is really surprised, but he is also really happy after seeing him. He's fallen asleep while reading that adorable book, so he carries Lois to his room and lays him on his bed. But as a caring father, he is really worried about him, wondering only if he had eaten more before sleeping. But since he's already asleep, he cannot do anything about it anymore. He just hopes he wakes up safely. He says good night to his son, saying he'll see him tomorrow. Lois looks really adorable when he is sleeping. After that, Joser goes back to his room and starts working. Sometimes later, he suddenly hears a sound. He gets really shocked, so he rushes toward Lois's room, wondering what the hell was that. However, he gets really shocked after seeing Lois and his room. Lois was lying on the ground, and his room is really a mess. Joser asks Lois if he is hurt anywhere. Joser looks in every corner of the room, wondering if there is any suspicious thing. However, he doesn't see any sign of a breach. But he is more surprised after seeing that the legs, made out of noble Periton wood, simply broke out of nowhere. In the decades that followed, a number of mysterious incidents continued happening, just like someone was trying to kill him. Lois got close to dying lots of times. However, Joser doesn't know why these things keep happening to Lois. So, as a safety measure, he has created safeguards in every way he can. Because of this, his lifespan has been shortened a bit. But that doesn't matter to him. He will do anything as long as he can keep Lois safe. For the past 60 years, he hasn't had even one good night's sleep because of the amount of incidents that have threatened Lois' life. However, he is really confused and wonders if someone is really trying to assassinate him. But he doesn't have any idea who could do such a thing. The world has forgotten the dragons, and only a few xenomorphs are aware of their existence. How could any being harm Lois without him realizing it? Nevertheless, only dragons would have that kind of power. But everyone who lives nearby protects their clan's hatchlings like their lives. Wondering if these are all coincidences. But he doesn't know the answer. Sometimes later, when Joser is protecting Lois, suddenly warrior armor starts attacking him. But luckily, Joser saves him and destroys the warrior armor. However, he is really angry and wonders how dare those mindless creatures not recognize their own master. Warrior armor prepares to attack Joser. However, Joser uses his strength attribute power and destroys every piece of warrior armor. He is really angry after seeing this. So Joser went to meet his father Pamis to ask him about the accidents happening with Lois. Pamis replies that it can't be helped. Geniuses will always need to overcome lots of obstacles. Not only this, but many other trials and tribulations. If Lois overcomes these trials, they will benefit him in the future, explaining, like what happened with the first king dragon. Joser knows that Lois's talent is so overpowered that they're trying to remove him. However, Joser, as a loving father, doesn't care if he is God, fate, or whatever it is. He'll protect Lois from anything. In the present, Lois is in his room standing in front of the mirror, wondering if he did grow up a bit. However, he is really frustrated. He's been asleep for 100 years and all he's grown is this much. But suddenly, he realizes that he didn't pay attention before. But now he's lost a big part of his life. 100 years have passed. But one of the biggest things that surprise him is that he is still alive, remembering the past accidents that happened with him. He was almost dying every day, wondering if he is safe while sleeping. However, he doesn't know what to make of this. Whatever. It doesn't matter how it happened. What matters is that he is alive. Suddenly, Joser comes and says to Lois that it's almost dinner time, so get ready to eat and come downstairs. However, Lois gets really surprised after seeing Joser's face, wondering what's wrong with father. Is he getting older? But he realizes in the past, he gave a really hard time to his father, so he made up his mind. He'll be a good hatchling and listen to Joser from now on. He asks Joser to wait. He will go with him. However, he is really curious and asks Joser why he looks so tired. Joser doesn't know what to say. He replies that he was working overtime. Lois asks him to get some sleep before working again. Sometimes later, in another side, In the beautiful place surrounded by mountains and lakes, there was a white-haired boy. He was working really hard practicing his swordsmanship. Suddenly, a voice calls his name, saying, "Master Lois." He is Lois, and this is his human form. The voice we heard gives Lois his towel to wipe out his sweat. Lois thanks her for this. She is a fairy, and he is Lois's maid. He is really happy that Lois has already gotten used to being in human form, saying he is indeed a descendant of the holy and great dragon clan. However, Lois doesn't say anything. "You're looking really disappointed," Finn, after seeing him, asks what's wrong with him. Lois explains that it's been already a damn 100 years and asks Finn to stop calling him master. Finn gets really surprised after hearing this, saying she can't do this. Lois is truly her master, explaining that honoring the superior dragons is a great pleasure for fairies. However, Lois doesn't care about the honor. He doesn't think as that, perhaps sometime after the end of his first hibernation. Joser gives Lois a gift on his birthday. Lois was reading a book in his room peacefully, but suddenly, he heard some noises. He is really confused and doesn't know where this voice is coming from. But when he closely inspects the gift that Joser sent him, he realizes that the voice he's hearing is coming from this gift, and suddenly a fairy comes out of it. Lois gets really scared after seeing this, so he uses his tail and attacks Finn. Lois has never seen a fairy and doesn't know what this is, wondering what kind of fly this is. So he gets his pain and tries to lift her with this. This is the first time Lois sees a fairy. He doesn't know what this is. However, when Finn comes to her senses, she introduces herself, saying, "Nice to meet you, holy baby dragon. My name is Finn, from the royalty of the Starlight Fairies. I am honored to be the one who will bring you pleasure in the future." However, Lois is really confused and doesn't know what to say. Finn asks to be put down first. Lois puts her down and asks what she means by pleasure. She doesn't reply. Instead, she presents something in front of Lois, saying, "For the holy and great baby dragon. They, the Starlight Fairies, have painstakingly prepared the Starlight Fairy Disguise Playset, level 23. Utilizing the genderless nature of the fairy family. Includes clothes for both men and women, demons and celestial clothes to suit the situation. There's a big variety of choices, with some limited edition sets. But the best part of this set is Finn herself. A noble Starlight Fairy and the owner of the perfect body that can pull off any outfit." Lois, after seeing this, thinks, a perfect dollhouse set. What is he going to do with this? Lois is really angry and asks Finn if he can use her as a living tool. Finn replies yes, saying he is the holy, great, and wise baby dragon. Of course, you got it right. However, Lois doesn't like this idea. It's through Finn and her dollhouse. After that, he questions his father as to why he would give him such a gift. But it turns out, it was the #1 gift that the hatchlings wanted. Of course, it doesn't matter to Lois whether they play dolls with fairies in a fantasy world or play wars. However, for Lois, the idea of playing with a living creature like a doll is kind of creepy, so he was going to send Finn back. However, Finn starts crying, asking Lois why he is doing this. With her, explaining he'll do anything. He'll clean or even do his laundry. Asking Lois to not throw her out. As it turns out, being a dragon's little friend is of great honor and a guaranteed path to greatness. The first fairy king that unified the fairy clans was the first dragon king's childhood toy. After days of crying and begging, she was accepted as a subordinate. Finn is 800 years old. She knows more than Lois does, and she's surprisingly helpful with the little things. Finn asks Lois what he's thinking about. Lois replies, "It's nothing. Now that I've exercised, I'm going to go back to studying." So he asks Finn to give him a book to read. She's a natural spatialist and has a talent for storing things in subspaces. It's like Lois's personal set of drawers. Finn can store anything in her dimension storage. So she gets the book from her dimension storage and gives it to Lois, explaining that today he is going to study Separation and Manifestation of Mana, advanced course. Lois is glad Finn is comfortable with that. So Finn gets a tea set from her dimension storage and places it in front of Lois. Lois is really surprised after seeing this, thinking he'll have to get used to it soon. When Lois was reading and drinking tea peacefully, suddenly he notices that the weather starts to turn bad. It's been a few days, and here we go again. And lightning tries to hit Lois. Finn is really surprised after seeing this. She asks Lois to be careful. However, Lois doesn't get any injury. He is still fine after being hit by lightning. He's been struck by lightning hundreds of times now. So to protect himself, he uses a thunder elemental stone. It utilizes the phenomenon that the more pure and stronger the power, the weaker it flows. It's a low-grade attribute stone that's relatively unstable. As it absorbs more lightning, it starts to fill up. However, the thunder elemental stone Lois just used is already full, and he needs to change it. But before he changes the thunder elemental stone, another lightning strike tries to hit him. Lois gets really surprised after seeing this, but luckily he uses his spatial distortion field skill on time and saves his life. Finn gets really shocked after seeing that Lois is using advanced magic spatial distortion field, wondering such an advanced spatial distortion field so quickly. That's almost tier 1 magic, even for a mana-blessed dragon. That's just too fast. However, Finn is really happy, thinking that with Lois, she'll be able to write a great epic history for everyone in the fairy clan to listen to. Meanwhile, Lois is thinking that he is glad he's been studying spatial shields. Those death-threatening incidents can now be avoided easily, and his spatial attributes are about to reach tier 1, space and time are tier 3, but mind is still tier 5. For those who don't know what tier levels are, I will explain to you that in this world, attribute levels are divided into 5 tiers, tier 0 being the highest level and tier 5 being the lowest level. However, he's been focusing on spatial to survive, but while doing that, he's forgotten about his other attributes. It's going to take some time to increase another attribute level, but now he can see hope to survive in this world filled with death flags. So he starts smiling and thinking that he has to work really hard to achieve his goal. He asks Finn to get him the next book. After some time later, Lois finishes his training, and he goes back to have food. However, he is really surprised after seeing that Joser is going somewhere. He asks Joser, "Where are you going?" Joser explains that he is going to the Silver Flower Castle. Mr. Kardasher is retiring this month. Lois asks if it's that grandpa who is retiring. Joser replies that he's retiring, but he is really confused, thinking calling him grandpa is still a bit too much. Lois replies, saying that Mr. Kardasher is grandpa's friend, and as grandpa's friends are also his grandpa. However, Lois is really confused and says he understands that grandpa is retiring, but why does papa need to go there? Joser replies that he was assigned to Elder Kardasher's position. Lois is really happy after hearing this, wondering papa is so powerful. Joser replies, saying if Lois says so, it's true. However, Lois is not the only one who's grown over the years. His father, who had been top tier for a long time, finally achieved tier 0 in dark attributes. Even the average dragon can't do that. And his father reached it at the age of 4,000, a young age for a dragon. That's enough to make him the final boss. In the original story, Joser, the berserker that ravaged the continent, had 2 main attributes, dark and magic. With those 2 attributes, Joser's entire body was dyed black. He was known to be the second coming of the devil. However, that won't happen this time. Lois has been training his ass off for the last 150 years to not let that happen. But Joser is really nervous. He wants to say something to Lois. Lois asks him what he wants to say, urging him not to beat around the bush, just spit it out. Joser says that he doesn't think he's going to be home for a while. Lois gets really surprised after hearing this. Normally, parents of hatchlings aren't chosen for this, but this time, there's no one capable enough for the position. The succession process is normally very long, but this time, it'll only be 10 years. Lois is really surprised after hearing that Joser isn't coming back for 10 full years. Joser, after seeing Lois like this, asks him if he is okay. However, Lois is really happy. He thanks God, saying it's just 10 years that'll pass fast. He thought it was going to take another couple of 100 years. But 10 years is only a decade. Anyway, he has recently started studying lawlessness theory, so he'll speed that up. However, Joser is really sad after hearing this. He didn't expect that his son wouldn't care about him. Lois, after seeing Joser, wonders if Joser expects him to cry and beg him not to go. Joser laughs, saying he doesn't know what to expect anything else from his son, and asks Lois if he wants to eat something. So he asks Lois to give him a second, and he'll get Lois some more snacks. However, Lois says that he is not a child anymore. Next day, Joser starts preparing to go to the Silver Flower Castle. However, before he goes, he reminds Lois that the nutritional pills are in the freezer, so don't skip meals just to practice. The emergency first aid kit is in the third drawer of his room. If he gets sick, find it and take it. Lois gets really angry after hearing this. He says to Joser that he'll be okay and asks him to just leave already. He has been saying the same thing for an hour. He is not a kid anymore, and he'll only be alone for 10 years. However, for the dragon race, he is still a kid. Joser, before he leaves, gives something to Lois. Lois, confused, doesn't know what this is. Joser explains that it's a natural object called a communication stone. They come in pairs, and when energized, he can communicate even when he is far apart. Lois, after seeing this, thinks it looks pretty expensive. However, he is wondering if they'll be able to communicate even though Joser will be at Silver Flower Castle. Joser, after carefully thinking about this, says to Lois that, now that I think about it, it doesn't reach that far. However, Lois knows that it happens with the smartest people. He always said no news is good news. So he asks Joser to not worry about him and work on his projects. Joser says to Lois that he should get going. However, before he goes, he last time reminds Lois if he needs anything, look for it in his room. He can also read his books if he gets bored. And don't skip meals and eat well. He also warns Lois that it's dangerous outside of the city and asks him to not leave. After saying that, he finally leaves. Lois thinks that Joser is a tough cookie. However, he is really grateful. Joser has protected him from so many threats for the past 100 or so years. It's not unreasonable for him to be so worried. After Joser left, Lois started smiling, thinking he is on his own for a while. The whole castle is his own now. There was a time when he thought. But now he is not looking good. Finn asks Lois to help her. Suddenly, we see two shadows approaching Finn. They are playing with Finn. She asks Lois to help her. Lois saves Finn and asks them, what are they doing here? They are twin dragons. Joser asks them to accompany Lois for the time being when he is not there. Both of them say to Lois that his father asked them to play with him, so he doesn't feel lonely. Lois asks them to explain one by one. Canny, the older of the twins, explains that Lois's papa has gone to Silver Flower Castle, leaving them all alone. Khan, the younger of the twins, says he said he'd be back in 10 years. Lois must be as worried as them, so they thought they'd come over to see if he were bored. They're fine, but they thought Lois is probably bored. Lois gets really angry and asks the twins, get the hell out of here. However, the twins get really annoyed after hearing this, asking why would Lois be so mean. He can't say that. These troublemakers live on the neighboring peak, fraternal twin dragons born 10,000 years apart. Lois was depressed because he wasn't growing taller, so for some reason, his father introduced them to him. So he thought they were cute with their silver hair and chubby cheeks. They played a few times. But then they started coming without him even asking, and are harassing the place. After Joser went to Silver Flower Castle, he thought he would finally be able to practice by himself. Lois got really annoyed with the twins, asking his father, why did he put him through this? However, The twins say to Lois that they only came to play with him because they thought he'd be bored, but he's being a meanie. And they even brought some toys this time. However, Lois got really surprised after seeing the sword Khan brought with him. So Lois snatched the sword from his hands and started inspecting it closely. After closely inspecting it, he asked the twin dragons, "Where did they get this?" The twins replied that they got it from their papa's storage room. They took it from papa's storage. Lois asked if they got permission from Uncle Carlos. Lois, after seeing their faces, understood that the twins sneaked it from their father's storage. It's a magic sword with a spatial attribute stone. It contains much more power than Lois does. But Lois suddenly noticed that there is a crystal ball attached to the sword handle. When he closely inspected that crystal ball, he noticed there is a magic circle inside of the crystal ball. Wondering what it seems to do, he asked Finn what she thinks about this. Finn, after seeing this, replied that she thinks it's broken and has lost its function. However, she doesn't know exactly. It's a very high-level spell, but she has seen many subspace swords and staffs like this. But the circle is very complex, wondering so the size of the subspace must be very large. Lois, after hearing this, started smiling. He is thinking to open this, so he said to everyone that he will test this out himself, thinking, since this sword came from a dragon's treasure trove, he must have hidden something great in the subspace. He'll claim all of it. A few hours later, Lois is still trying to fix this sword. The twins, after waiting for many hours, got really bored, wondering when it will be over. But suddenly, Lois screamed loudly, saying he had fixed it. It started working again. The twins asked Lois to try to test it. Lois asked everyone to hold up. He was going to push the elemental power first. So he started pouring his elemental energy into the sword crystal. However, he got really surprised after seeing the crystal ball sucking a lot more energy than he thought, wondering what the hell is being kept here. But suddenly, an energy ball appeared in front of him. He was really surprised, wondering what this is. This isn't the subspace, what he thought. Suddenly, the energy ball became really big. This energy ball started sucking everyone. Moments later, the energy ball teleported Lois and the twins everyone into an ice cave. However, they teleported very high above the ground. Finn asked everyone if they were okay, but they were not okay after falling from so high. Lois asked Finn where they are. However, after close inspection, Lois realized that they are in an ice cave. But when they are worried about where they are, suddenly the sword that teleported them to this cave started glowing. And in just a moment, the magic circle broke into small pieces. Everyone was really shocked after seeing this. One of the twins' dragon, Khan, started crying, saying, "Lois broke my sword." Lois tried to explain that it's not a sword, it's an attribute stone that broke. But Khan started crying more loudly after finding out that Lois broke his attribute stone. However, Lois couldn't do anything, so he asked the other twins' dragon Canny if she knew who this sword belonged to. She replied that she heard it belonged to her great-grandmother. After hearing this, Lois asked Canny if her great-grandmother was a spatial mage. However, Canny didn't know much more than that. She didn't know if her great-grandmother was a spatial mage. Lois, after hearing this, started thinking. However, he was cornered. He needed to at least know what it was used for so he could use it as well, and they could go back home. Suddenly, Lois heard Finn's voice. She asked Lois to come, as she found out something. When Lois got there, he found another identical sword stuck in an ice stone. Lois got really confused, wondering what this was. However, he realized that it's not a subspace treasure trove, but an interdimensional gate that connects two different places. After understanding everything, he realized that he was blinded by the treasure. He should have been more cautious. He was too complacent. After that, Lois started walking toward the exit. Canny asked Lois where he was going. He replied that they needed to know where they are so they can get home. Lois asked the twins' dragon to come with him. After wandering around the ice cave for some time, they finally reached the exit. However, They were really surprised to see that the exit door was blocked with a big stone. But Lois didn't get disappointed. He would get everyone out. So he used his space attribute and attacked the big stone blocking the exit, destroying it into small pieces. Everyone was really happy. However, Lois was really surprised to see snow outside. So Lois started walking toward the outside. Khan asked Lois where he was going. But he was really surprised after seeing Lois suddenly stop and asked what's wrong and what's going on. Finn was also really curious and asked why he stopped suddenly. But everyone was really shocked after seeing the Earth's right fang, mountains. The twins asked Lois what was wrong with him, why he stopped, and what this right fang was. Finn explained that the Earth's right fang is a mountain located at the easternmost point of the winter continent. That means they're in trouble. This world is called Evan. It's divided into 4 continents, and each continent has the same climate throughout the year. The spring continent has mild weather year-round, while the summer continent boasts a tropical-like climate and scorching sun. The autumn continent has a cooler climate and high sunshine, resulting in bountiful harvests for hundreds of years. Finally, the winter continent experiences a cold, harsh climate of bitter winds and snow. After all this, the Djoser home, nestled in the Nokchai mountain range, is located at the westernmost tip of the spring continent. On the exact opposite end lies the winter continent, near the Earth's right fang at the eastern tip. Upon discovering this, Lois becomes really mad, thinking that the reincarnation thing was bearable. But will he be able to overcome this? He feels threatened all the time, and the outside world is full of danger. He didn't mean to get away from the house, but suddenly he realizes, what if someone finds out that he has disappeared from the castle? Djoser might turn into a berserker and destroy the empire. However, suddenly, Lois remembers that he has a communication stone that Djoser gave him. But he realizes that he can't reach space after all. That's almost where Silver Flower Castle is located. So Lois asks Finn, would it be possible to cross the East Sea? However, Finn replies, saying that's not possible. It's a demonic sea, a trace left behind by the worst of the evil dragons. The sea that separates the winter continent from the spring continent is where all sorts of demons lurk. Even adult dragons stay away from that place. Finn says to Lois that even if he is chosen by the 4 elements at his age, it'll be impossible to cross that sea. Lois understands that they can't travel through the demonic sea, so he asks Finn, then how long would it take for them to cross the continent and reach the left fang? Finn replies that she doesn't know exactly, but if they go walking, they will reach their destination in about 10 years. Lois gets really surprised after hearing this, wondering if he hurries up a bit, he might be able to make it back before his father returns. So he asks everyone to listen up, explaining that they are in great trouble. This is the right fang, located at the end of the winter continent. It would take them 10 years on foot to get home. However, Canny is really confused and wonders why they don't just fly there. Lois explains that if they fly there and someone sees them, they will be in big trouble, or maybe someone will kidnap them. Lois asks them to forget it. They can't fly. They'll walk like humans and arrive in 10 years. However, Khan is really curious and asks Lois, what if they don't make it back in 10 years? Lois replies, what if? Then my father will be back in 10 years. And if we're not there, they'll set the whole continent on fire looking for us. However, Lois gets really surprised after seeing their reaction. But he remembers that they're not humans. But this is the normal reaction, and Lois is the one who is different. So Lois changes the topic, saying, if they are not there, they're gonna beat the crap out of us. Maybe they won't buy us snacks or a toy for 100 years. The twins get really shocked after hearing this. They start crying. However, Lois realizes that their snacks and toys are more precious than the well-being of the continent. Lois asks them to calm down. They don't have to panic. They just need to get home before his dads are back. He will be in charge from now on, and the twins have to listen to him. However, the twins ask Lois that they want to be in charge. Lois explains that leadership is for the smartest dragons. Are you guys smarter than me? However, they are not happy, saying Lois is younger than them. Lois, after hearing this, gets really angry, saying, "You childish kids, I'm taller than you. Saying KHNI is only a month older than you and me. I'm the boss because I said it first." Finn, after seeing them, gets really disappointed, saying they have got a long way to go. But moments later, they decide that Lois will be the leader and Finn will support him. Lois explains that they have everything they need and asks everyone to let's go. However, he gets really surprised after seeing a sudden change in the weather. Clouds start gathering in the sky. Lois, after seeing this, starts preparing. So he gets the thunder lightning stone from his pocket and puts it on his artifact. The twins get really excited after seeing that Lois is going to be struck by lightning again. They get close to Lois, saying they also want to be struck as well. Lois, after seeing them, wonders. No one told them that being struck by lightning is a bad thing. Lois tries to explain to them. However, they don't want to hear that. After a moment later, Lois agrees with them, saying, "Okay, just be sure to not let go of me." Lois is really surprised after seeing lightning, wondering if it looks bigger this time. But he is also really excited, thinking, "All right, let's see what's coming." However, no lightning strike hits him. Lois is confused, wondering, did the lightning bolt miss? This had never happened before. But suddenly, he hears some noises. But when he turns his head toward the noise, he gets shocked. The starting lightning bolt is not aiming at Lois, but at the mountain. So he grabs the twins and starts running. So he asks the twins to quickly transform into their dragon form. However, it's already too late. The snow has already caught them. Finn gets really worried, calling Lois's name. However, Lois does not have any other choice. So he uses his disconnection and creates a barrier around everyone, basically disconnecting himself from space. With this, they will be safe. However, the twins are enjoying this. After a moment later, when everything is quiet, Lois emerges from under the snow. He is really tired. He thought he was going to die this time. Meanwhile, the twins are really enjoying this, asking, "Let's do it again." However, Lois is really angry. He comes close to both of them and hits them really hard, saying, "Please grow up, you guys." However, he is really confused and wondering, where the hell did that avalanche bring us to? Because it covered all of the roads, so they can't see anything. That's why they can't recognize where they are. However, the twins are really enjoying and playing with snow. They ask Lois to come and play with them. But suddenly, Khan dives into the snow. KHNI, after seeing Khan, also wants to dive. She also follows Khan and dives into the snow. However, Lois is really frustrated after seeing their childish behavior. He is really angry. He asks them to take it easy and get out. They have a long way to go. But there is no reaction. He gets more frustrated, asking them, "Come on, what kind of prank are you playing?" But when he gets too close, he suddenly gets diarrhea into the snow. He asks Finn to fly him up. However, this is not easy for Finn. Both of them are dragged into an ice cave. Lois wonders when will it stop. But suddenly, Finn notices something and asks Lois to look out. But it's already too late. He tries to transform into his dragon form, but he is not able to do it. But luckily, Khan and Canny transform into their dragon form and save Lois's life. However, for the twins, that was so fun. But finally saved by the twins, Lois says to Finn that he thinks he is gaining respect for them. Finn also agrees with him. However, Lois is really curious and asks Finn where they are. Finn, after seeing this, says that it doesn't look like a naturally formed cave. It's more like a man-made corridor. Lois also agrees with her. But he is really curious, thinking, "This is definitely my first time here, so why does it feel familiar? Where have I seen this place before?" Finn is really confused and wondering what they should do now. Lois replies that let's think about it and move slowly, because it might take us further away from the exit. Suddenly, the twins start running, saying, This way, I think the exit is here. Kenny also agrees with Khan, saying, I'll go to this side and you go over there. Lois is really angry and asks them to slow down if they keep ignoring the captain. But suddenly, the twins stop. Lois asks them why they're standing there. Suddenly, Kenny points his finger toward the door and asks Lois, What are those things? Lois, confused, wonders, What do you mean? But when he closely inspects, he starts to see something standing there. But when he saw it from closer, he finds out that these are dead humans who became zombies. He gets really shocked after seeing them, wondering what are these things. Lois is confused and asks Finn what are those. However, Finn doesn't know what they are, but she realizes that there's more than one of them. They slowly start approaching them. Khan asks Lois if these guys are really humans. After hearing this, Kenny replies, Dumbass. Humans don't have red lights in their eyes. But suddenly, Lois remembers that they're winter generals. Before the Webtoon story began, the heroic King Valencia saved everyone from a world crisis. After he saved everyone, even in the afterlife, he's said to be overworked as winter general. This is the place where this general was said to appear. The ice tomb of the great hero king. Hero King's tomb. Lois is really surprised, wondering, so the Hero King's tomb is this far away from home. What a coincidence. But suddenly, he realizes that if this is the Hero King's tomb, doesn't that mean that the item from the Webtoon is here too? But suddenly Finn warns Lois that this winter soldier looks a bit too aggressive. After seeing this, Lois asks Khan and Kenny to prepare themselves. Let's get rid of them. After that, Khan and Kenny start attacking them. Khan uses his lightning sword and attacks the winter soldier. He asked Kenny if he's going to attack first. Khan kills the winter soldier in just one attack. Kenny is really angry at Khan, saying she wanted to go first. But suddenly, one of the winter soldiers tries to snack attack on Kenny. However, she kills that soldier without any problem. Lois is really impressed with their combat power, saying, Not bad for those two. However, after seeing both of them fight, Lois realizes that they weren't just playing around either. Their strength is comparable to a second-tier samurai. Considering that, he doesn't mind having them by his side anymore. But to speed things up, he uses his time attribute power and casts temporal law, slowing the time around the winter soldier. The twins realize that they are getting slower, wondering if Lois must have enchanted their weapons with a temporal crystal. After seeing this, Khan says, In that case, let's take this opportunity and finish all of them. When the winter soldiers are slowed down with Lois's time magic, Khan and Kenny take advantage of the opportunity and kill all of the winter soldiers. They're exploding, popping like popcorns, and finally, they kill the last one that's left. After killing them, Khan wonders, Is it over already? Kenny starts feeling bored. However, Lois congratulates both of them. But after seeing them like this, he says, Why don't they try something more fun? The twins get really excited